grab a notepad. Today we get some help with the daunting but oh so promising task of finding money for college. We're talking about FAFSA, and Royce is here with a special guest to help us out.
We are in the Money Classroom, and it's a pleasure to be here back at the Money Classroom, Jade Show. I am Royce Sutton, Fifth Third Bank Vice President, Community and Economic Development Manager, and I have a tremendous guest with us today. I've got Sonya Smith, and she is the Career and College Counsel Advisor at Hazelwood East. And we're going to talk about an important subject today. We're going to talk about the FAFSA, or the Financial Aid Form for Student Assistance. Now, a lot of us have gone through this or they've heard about this, but we're going to talk about it in a little bit more depth today because this is an important topic, because it's at this time of year where people begin to think about the whole financial process that goes along with preparing for college, and there is paperwork that goes along with that. Paperwork that for many families, it's the first time they filled out this paperwork, and it can be a little confusing, but we're going to take some time to dispel some of the myths about it, get rid of some of the confusion, but more importantly, we're going to empower our families today who are listening with the information that they need to complete the FAFSA accurately and with the degree of detail so they can get everything that they're entitled to. So, Sonya, it's a pleasure having you here. Let's talk a little bit about FAFSA. Let's talk about what it is, when students can apply for it, and what it involves.
Well, first of all, thank you, Royce, for having me, and it is my pleasure being here, and I am so excited to share with our families about what to expect for FAFSA. What I think is most important is, what is FAFSA? And FAFSA is a free application for student aid. And what that FAFSA basically does is it determines what the family can contribute to a student's college fund.
Now, we know college is very expensive. It costs a lot of money for students to pursue that, and they're looking for grants, scholarships. So this financial aid form that they're completing, what types of what type of money will they be eligible for as a result of completing this FAFSA form?
Okay, well, the FAFSA form is simply just an avenue where they can determine, based on the family's income, what they can be entitled for. And some is Pell Grants, and the other, what I normally tell students, is 90% of your money for college is going to come from the college or university. The FAFSA form then determines some additional funds that the school might be able to offer through federal aid.
Mm-hmm. Funny story. When I first went to college, I knew nothing about how to complete a FAFSA appropriately. So I filled out the form, got the form, and I said, oh, I can do this. I can handle this. And got to the university campus. My form had a ton of errors, a lot of mistakes, information that was missing. And so I spent really the first probably 2 or 3 days on campus trying to untangle the mess that I'd created for myself. So talk about a little bit how some of our students can avoid the type of situation that I was in, and what you do to help students to get to the point where they complete it the right way.
Well, one of the things that FAFSA has done is now they've made it electronic. So that's a really cool thing, and I think me and you were probably in the same boat. I had a lot of paperwork to do, but exciting enough, the FAFSA now is online. And it takes you step by step. And if there are any corrections that need to be made, FAFSA does send you an email and say, hey, there are some corrections that need to be made. And those corrections can be made online.
Okay. So would you recommend that the first step that a student takes, should they go to their counselor at their school? Should they just refer to some things? What would you recommend to the student?
Well, I don't know if many know, but FAFSA has begun. It just started January 1. And simply what they need to do is just go on FAFSA.edu.gov. And I want to make sure that our listeners understand that, because there is another FAFSA website out there, but that one costs. So I want to repeat that again. It's FAFSA.edu.gov. You go on that particular site and it'll walk you through it step by step. You don't really need a counselor or someone who is knowledgeable in the area, because it's pretty self-explanatory. However, one of the main questions that students and parents do ask, do I need to file my taxes before my FAFSA form is done? And simple answer to that is no. You can do an estimation once you get to the income part of your FAFSA, and you can do an estimation based on both parents' income, and then you can go back and make changes once your taxes are filed.
So let's make sure we're really clear here, Sonya. So when you talk about the information I'm going to need to complete the FAFSA, as a student who's thinking and who's planning to go to college in the fall, I'm going to need some financial information. Do I need that just for income that I have as a student? That I've got a job at one of the fast food restaurants. Do I only need that information, or do I need information from everyone in the household that's bringing income in?
Well, it just determines. It's based on how your parents are going to file. If they are going to claim you, then there's not a reason for you to have yours. What you need to do is just they need to have their W-2 forms, put in their bottom number on both W-2 forms. If there are two parents in the household, put that in the estimation block, and it'll ask you specific questions, and it will determine, like I said, right at that point, just an estimation, and then the FAFSA form can be submitted.
Now, I'm we've both kind of come into some of these situations in the past. Now, I do recognize when we're talking about providing financial information, we all get a little uncomfortable about providing financial information to various sources out there. Now, give me some assurance that when as a parent, if I'm putting this financial information onto these forms, is it just going to that source only? It's not going to be shared with sales groups or any other things. Help me with that.
No, it is a secure site, and so you can rest assured that your information is going to be kept within the FAFSA site. One of the things I did want to say also, that if you have already completed your tax return, and for those families who are eager beavers, and that's good, that FAFSA just added an IRS retrieval tool. So you don't need to have your paperwork right there in front of you. If your taxes were filed 2 weeks prior to you filling out your FAFSA form, that information is already in there. So instead of using the tax forms that you have, all you would do is click on the IRS retrieval tool, and it will automatically pull the taxes and attach it to the FAFSA form.
Oh, no, that is nice.
Yes.
That's a nice
That's
feature.
a whole lot easier than it has been in the past. And I can say that I have two students who went to college, and my oldest son was not able to use that, but my daughter was. So it's a helpful tool.
Well, and the other thing is you mentioned about being able to estimate. That is a very powerful tool. So just in case I don't have all the information, I can look at my returns from the previous year and just come up with a figure that is close to, and then later on I can go back and make the corrections needed to the forms.
Exactly. And the first priority date for filing your FAFSA is March 1st. And then
say that again.
The first priority date for filing your FAFSA is by March 1st. The second date for Missouri is April 1st. But I want to caution parents, if you have students that are going to school out of state, they need to look at those particular colleges, because each college has a different FAFSA date when it's due.
So if I get that in, if I don't get that in by March 1st, and my student is attending now a state that has that March 1st deadline, what potential impact does that have upon that student and the family?
Well, what we always tell students is get it in as soon as you can, because the money is there, but eventually that money will run out. So if you file after the deadline, the two deadlines, or whatever your school's deadline is, what will potentially happen is whatever federal funds are available, that's what you get versus what you could have gotten had you filed earlier.
So what type of federal funds, when I complete the FAFSA, what type of federal funds or grants does it entitle me to if I do qualify?
Well, based on your incomes, most students will probably qualify for the Pell Grant, and that Pell Grant is about $5,000 and a couple of hundred.
Really?
And then the other, if you're in an income bracket where you think that you're not going to be able to reap any kind of federal funds, the school has funds that they can distribute to students that the government gives them. So you may qualify for federal money within the university.
Mm-hmm. And that is extremely important, as you note that, because there are some students who they may not end up qualifying for the Pell Grant or the federal money, but there are grants that are available through the schools. So you don't want to, just because maybe you believe that your income may be above a certain level, you still need to fill out that form, I guess is what I'm hearing from you.
Correct. Any student that's attending a college, university, trade school, or community school, they need to have the FAFSA application on file.
Okay. Now, if I receive one of these grants, now is that money taxable to me? I need to know about that.
Well, yes, you will receive some tax credit, and any grant that is given to you, that money does not have to be paid back.
Does not have to be paid back. So when it's a grant, I don't have to be. That's good news. That's really good news.
Absolutely.
Okay, now I know that when we talk about these subjects, one of the things that we always mention is we want people to be cautious and aware, because you mentioned that there is a website that if you go to it, they have you to pay for the FAFSA when you don't have to.
Absolutely.
Are there other scams or schemes that are going on out there that our students and our families need to be aware of as they're applying for this financial aid?
Well, just as I said earlier, just make sure that it is the FAFSA.edu.gov website that they are clicking on, because that is the free website for the FAFSA. Any other website that asks for additional money, you're in the wrong one. And we've had plenty of students who have unfortunately gotten to that point.
So if you have someone that says that they can, if you pay them a certain amount of money, then they'll get you financial aid, then you should avoid that?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right.
Absolutely.
Well, I tell you what, this is extremely valuable information, and I know you're doing tremendous work at Hazelwood. Tell us about some of the exciting things you're doing there.
Well, wow, this is a big thing for the Hazelwood School District. Hazelwood East is going to host a free income tax preparation night for all students in the Hazelwood School District who are graduating seniors, meaning they would be entering college in the fall of 2014. We also have a FAFSA Frenzy night that we will be hosting as well. And those tax-free nights are February 11th and the 13th. And everything will be hosted at Hazelwood High School, and the address there is 11300 Dunn Road, and we will be hosting that from 5 to 8. And if you get there and we can't accommodate you, we will give you additional sites that you can go to. But this is a tremendous deal for the Hazelwood School District. We are so excited, and I am so happy to be a part of it.
Well, this is exciting, and it's good to hear. Again, that deadline is March 1st. Students, families, make sure you get your financial aid forms completed. And if you have questions, you have a lot of resources in our community that can help you. And as always, as we think about what we're doing here on this show, it's all about taking care of yourself, your family, and your future. Thank you for joining the Money Classroom today. Money Classroom today. Money Class.